भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। Today we are starting with the overview of the second chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. मदेगबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महाधना मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानन्द नमोऽस्तु ते. The second chapter of the first canto, entitled Divinity and Divine Services, has a total of 34 shlokas, and this is Suta Maharshi, Suta Goswami, speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya. And he starts by offering obeisances. Then Suta Maharshi glorifies the questions raised by Shaunaka and others. Then he answers the first two questions among the 6 questions of Shaunakadis. Then he goes on to speak about occupational duties and their goal. Then the 3 features of the absolute truth that is described, and then how the absolute truth can be realized by devotional service, that gets discussed. Then the Varnashrama and its sole purpose being devotional service, that also gets discussed. And because of that, because devotional service is the sole purpose of Varnashrama, it speaks about hearing, glorifying, remembering and worshipping the Lord, and how that remembrance of the Lord cuts the knots of karma. And so it is asked, who will not hear such katha that will actually cut the knots of karma? Then in 4 shlokas, it explains how one moves from the level of Shraddha, that is faith, to Prema, that is loving devotional service. And then concludes by saying that all kinds of transcendentalists are performing bhakti, and even among the Gunavataras, Lord Vishnu is to be worshipped. And in 2 verses, demigod worship is rejected. And then in 2 verses, it explains how Vasudeva is the essence of every process. And then in the next 3 shlokas, the Purushavasaras are very briefly indicated. And the last verse of the chapter is the answer to the 3rd question of the sages of Naimisharanya about the purpose of the incarnations. So, starts with Suta Maharshi. He is very happy with the questions raised by the Shaunakadis. So, Suta Goswami will thank all of them who are assembled there and asking such wonderful and relevant questions. Because as you and me know, the whole world is going through questions and answers, right? Everybody has some question and somebody is answering, somebody is questioning, somebody is answering. This process is going on all the time. And how the questions can be for the benefit of the entire mankind. That is what we understand from the question answers of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is not our question answers, as to how bad the neighbor is, how bad the neighbor is doing, or is he doing worse than me, is he doing better than me. This type of question answer is not what we are looking at. The question answer that we are looking at is something that is conducted for the benefit of the entire mankind. So Suta Goswami is very happy that they have asked such questions, and he says that I am very happy and I am very eager to answer your questions. And then he goes on to glorify Shukadeva Goswami, who is the speaker, the first speaker in our context of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami is the speaker whom we introduced in the first chapter also very briefly. So here Suta Maharshi, he is glorifying Shukadeva Goswami by talking about Shukadeva Goswami. He says that Shukadeva Goswami can enter the hearts of everyone. And when he left home without undergoing any reformatory ceremonies, Vyasa was crying, and only the trees were echoing Vyasa's cry that my son, Vyasadeva was crying. Because Shukadeva Goswami was already on the liberated platform. He was already a Muktatma. So he did not undergo any samskara, He did not undergo Nishkramana, he did not undergo Mundana, he did not undergo Namakarana, no Annaprasana, no Upanayanam. Nothing was done for him. Without anything, he simply left home and proceeded to the forest. But Shukadeva Goswami can do that because he is actually above all these samskaras. Because samskaras are basically purificatory processes, and Shukadeva Goswami is already pure beyond these purificatory processes. So he left home without any purificatory process and went on to the forest. And then Suta Maharshi is further glorifying Shukadeva Goswami by saying that Yaswanubhavam akhila shruti saramekam adhyatma deepam atitirshatam tamondham samsarinam karunayaha purana guhyam tam vyasa sunumupayami gurum muninam. He is talking about this great personality named Shukadeva Goswami, who is actually Yaswanubhavam akhila shruti saramekam. He is actually, by his own experience, he has assimilated everything. Akhila shruti saram. He has assimilated the cream of the Vedic literature, and that he is giving away to who? Samsarinam karunayaha purana guhyam. That the most confidential Purana of all is being shared by this greatly compassionate Karunayaha. To who? Samsarinam. Samsari means one who is engaged in the activities of material life. One who is engaged in the samsara is called a samsari. And samsarinam means for all the samsaris, for all the people who are engaged in these materialistic activities, being very, very merciful to them, Shukadeva Goswami speaks Adhyatma Deepam. And he is saying that Tam Vyasa Sunum, he is the son of Vyasa, and he is Gurum Munina, he is the spiritual master of all the great sages. You see, even though he is young by age, actually, as we all know, when Shukadeva Goswami is speaking Bhagavatam to Parikshit, his own father, who is actually the writer, he is sitting and listening to his son. So, by age, Shukadeva Goswami is very young. He is a young boy actually when he is speaking this Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit. But then he is being glorified here as Tam Vyasasunam Upayami Gurum Munina. He is actually on the position of a guru to all the munis. So Srila Prabhupada says here that this is actually an introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the materialistic people actually can never be happy. Materialistic people can never be happy because materialism can never give us happiness. Okay? But because Shukadeva Goswami is very, very merciful to all of us, so this Bhagavata Vedanta Sutra is available to all. Prabhupada uses the word Bhagavata Vedanta Sutra. Means Vedanta Sutra in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam is made available to all of us by the mercy of Shukadeva Goswami. This is the statement by Suta Goswami. And then he goes on to pay obeisance. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tadhojaya Mudirayet. So he is offering Namaskrityam to who? Naranarayana Rishi. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam. So Naranarayana Rishi and Saraswati Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Vyasa Maharshi, who is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra and is the writer of the Srimad Bhagavata Puran. So Suta Maharshi says this Bhagavatam is actually a means to conquer the Ajnana Tamondhakara. This Ajnana Tama, this darkness, this Andhakar that is due to Ajnana, this Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the means to conquer this whole Ajnana paradigm. And for that, while approaching the Srimad Bhagavatam, Suta Goswami is offering his prayers to the perfect human beings called the Naranarayana Rishis and to the author Vyasadev and to the goddess of learning Saraswati Devi. You see? Why? So that I will be able to understand this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the only means of conquering this Tamondhakaram that is caused by Ajnana. So that obeisances, that Namaskrityam is done, and then he says that Munaya Sadhu Prishtoham Bhavadbhir Loka Mangalam Yatkrita Krishna Samprashno Yenatma Suprasidati. Now Suta Goswami is glorifying the questions by Shaunakadis. He says that only such questions, Yat Krita Krishna Samprashno Yenatma Suprasidati. So, questions related to Lord Krishna is capable of benefiting everybody, and it is also capable of completely satisfying the self or the Atma. Yenatma Suprasidati. And then in the next two shlokas, Shaunaka's first two questions are discussed. The answer to the first two questions. The first question was, what is the Paro Dharma? What is the highest good for all? And next is, what is the best thing? So the two questions are answered in shloka 6 and 7. Sa vaipumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So that paro dharmo for all pumsam, for all human beings. What is the paro dharma? What is the supreme occupation for all the living entities, for all pumsam, savai pumsam, for all human beings? The paro dharma or the supreme dharma is nothing but yato bhaktir adhokshaje, to Lord Adhokshaja, to the Supreme Lord Krishna, doing bhakti. And how is it? Ahaituki apratihata. It is ahaituki, unmotivated, apratihata, uninterrupted. So, bhakti is paro dharma. Bhakti is the topmost dharma. And how is that bhakti to be done? Ahaituki, without any motivation. apratihata, without any interruption. And through that what happens? Yayatma suprasidati. So by that the Atma actually becomes very, very satisfied and happy. And why is this specifically, this Yato Bhakti Rajo Adokshaje is spoken is because when you actually refer the Vedic literature, there is a Pravritti Marga and a Nivritti Marga given there. So Pravritti Marga is where the marga of utilizing sense gratification, and enjoying everything and then finally reaching, that is also given. But here Suta Maharshi is very clearly indicating that that is not the advisable path for somebody who is looking at the supreme benefit. The advisable path for somebody looking at the supreme benefit is the Nivritti Marga, which is through this Adhokshaja Bhakti, which is Ahaituki and Apratihata. And so next he continues to speak how Bhakti, he is speaking about Bhakti. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatya Suvairagyam Jnanam Chat Yat Ahaitukam. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha. By Bhakti unto Lord Vasudeva, one will immediately acquire costless knowledge and detachment. Jnanam Yat Chad Vairagyam and Jnanam. Janayatyasu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. So Ahaituka Jnanam you are getting and Vairagyam, detachment we are getting. So actually the supermost occupation of the living entity in the form of a human body is bhakti. That becomes very clear. And also this verse very clearly proves that bhakti is above jnana and vairagya. Because generally there is a misconception that, if I am able to rattle off Upanishads and the Vedas and then I become a great Pandita, and then I am considered as somebody very serious and very, and if I can, sit on Padmasana and hold my breath for 15 minutes or half an hour or whatever it is, somehow then also I am considered serious. But when I am actually chanting Krishna's name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and chanting and dancing in ecstasy, somehow that is considered, sentimental, something that is, just because they cannot attain, they don't have Gyan and they don't have Vairagya, so they are doing this Sankirtan. No. Because this verse very clearly proves, what does it prove? It proves that Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. This Bhakti unto Lord Krishna, actually immediately you will get this Jnana and Vairagya. You see? So if you are practicing bhakti, immediately jnana and vairagya comes. But if you keep on practicing jnana and vairagya, God alone knows for how many janmas you will have to spend to get bhakti. So it becomes very, very clear that bhakti is superior to jnana and vairagya. This we understand from the statement of Suta Goswami here in this particular verse. And then he goes on to explain that how this whole dharma is bhakti based. So in the next shloka he speaks about dharmasvanusthita pumsam vishwaksena katha suyaha notpadayed yatiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. So pumsam, human beings, dharma swanushtitaha. That is, if you do your swadharma. But vishwaksena kathasuyaha na utpadayed yatiratim shrama eva hi kevalam, it says that all your swadharma based on your varnashram, even if you perform, but if they do not provoke any attraction for vishwaksena katha, if it is not generating any attraction for Krishna Katha, all your varnasrama dharma, swadharma anushtanam, is Shrama Evahi Kevalam, which means you may be the perfect Brahmana, perfect Kshatriya, perfect Vaishya. But whether you are perfected yourself in any of your Varnashram position, if there is no rati, if there is no interest, if there is no attraction for Krishna Katha, then that is simply a waste of time. Prabhupada there speaks about actually the Atma wants to become free from this limited sphere of material bondage, and it wants ultimate unlimited freedom. And this unlimited freedom is available where? The entire material manifestation is limited in nature. So you cannot get anything unlimited here. So you have to transcend this material situation, only then you can have experience of anything unlimited, whether it is freedom or anything else. So for that you actually need to execute the paro dharma only. All the other dharmas are subordinate to this paro dharma. This Srimad Bhagavatam straight away gets to this point. And then he goes on to speak that any material occupational engagement, any dharma that one is performing, he should understand that it is not meant for material gain, but it is meant for liberation. And maintaining a healthy life, one should inquire only about the absolute truth and nothing else. Especially this human life is to be maintained in a nice way only to inquire about Param Satyam. To inquire about the Param Satyam, we must maintain our lives and utilize our life primarily to inquire about Param Satyam. The other things like bodily maintenance and everything is there so that we can inquire into Brahman. So this is what we must understand. And then in the next shloka, he is getting into how this Param Satyam is understood. Vadanti tat tattvavidas taddvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. The absolute truth, tattvam, yajnanam advayam, this param tattvam of which there is no second. How is it perceived by the tattvavida? Those who are understand, tattvavit means one who understands the truth. It is understood in three ways. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti shabdyate. By these three names, the absolute truth is perceived as Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So it is explained that the students of the Upanishads, they understand, they perceive the absolute truth as Brahman. They are also called Brahmavadis and Jnanis. That is, purely by approaching the Upanishad with the Jnana frame of mind, those students, they will perceive the supreme absolute truth as Brahman. Then the Hiranyagarbhas, or as we call them, the yogis, they perceive the absolute truth to be Paramatma, seated within the heart. And the bhaktas are perceiving that same supreme absolute truth as Bhagavan. You see? So this absolute truth, when you are approaching the absolute truth, when you are studying the absolute truth, what happens is that it becomes both the subject and the object. There is no difference. There is no qualitative difference. So also there is no qualitative difference between the three understandings. You understand? They are non-different, but they are on three different stages. This Swayam Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in him the Paramatma feature and the Brahman feature is included. That is why Bhagavan realization is considered to be the highest. The first level is Brahman realization, which is that this Supreme Absolute Truth pervades the entire material manifestation. It pervades the entire prapancha as Brahman. Okay? And then when you go one step forward, the yogi, by his practice, he is able to see within himself that Supreme Absolute Truth seated as Paramatma. Okay? And then the devotee, because of his personal relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth as Bhagavan. That is why in the very first shloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasa Maharshi establishes the personality of the Supreme Absolute Truth. What is that? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Satyam Param Dhimahi. That Satyam Param Dhimahi, I pay my obeisances to the Param Satyam, who is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, I pay my obeisances, I do my namaskrityam to that Supreme Absolute Truth who is Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. So, that Vasudeva, within him is included the Brahman, within him is included the Paramatma. So, this is the gradual way of approaching the Supreme Absolute Truth, and the highest level of that realization is Bhagavan. And that highest level of realization is directly available to the Bhakta without going through the Upanishadic study, without going through the Ashtanga Yoga process. He is getting direct access to the highest level of realization, which is Bhagavan. This is the greatness of bhakti. Again, it is being brought out here. And then, what is the process to realize the absolute truth? Tashraddadana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyantatmani chatmanam bhaktya shruta grihitaya. The seriously inquisitive sage, equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes absolute truth by devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. You see? So, somebody who is actually Shraddadhana Munayo, the sage who is very seriously inquiring, who is inquisitive, who has knowledge, who has detachment, he is realizing the absolute truth by devotional service based on what he has heard in Vedanta Shruti. So, actually here you can see Shaunaka Rishi and his associates in Naimisharanya, they are all like this Shraddadhana Munayo. See, it's not that they are novices. They know Vedas, Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, everything. But they are putting forth these questions to Suta Maharshi for what? Based on their understanding of Veda and Vedanta, now they want to hear about Krishna. What does that mean? That even if you have heard Veda, even if you have understood Veda, Vedanta Sutra, it is all incomplete if you don't hear about Krishna. You know? Why? Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedya. Through all Vedas, through all Vedas I am to be known. So that is why the Shraddhadhana Munayaha, they are thinking how to hear about Krishna. They are looking at the resources who can give them Krishna Katha. And so they have now received Suta Goswami, who has heard it from the best expert. So he is going to now relate these things. You see? So Suta Maharshi is saying that the Shraddhadhana Munayaha, they are the ones, they realize absolute truth by devotional service. And continues to say that the only purpose of Varnashram Dharma, Adhapumbir Dvija Shrestha Varnashrama Vibhagasha Swanushtitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse so frequently in so many places that he will always say that he is now, Suta Maharshi is now addressing Athapumbir Dvijashreshta. That is all the Dvijashreshtas. You please understand that the Varnasrama Vibhagasha Swanushtitasya Dharmasya, that Swa Anushtitasya Dharma, that is all the Swadharmas that you are performing in based on the Varnasrama Vibhaga. It is, everything is meant for Haritoshanam, simply to please Hari. That is the whole idea of your Varnasrama practices. So, whatever Varnashram practice I am undergoing, I should understand, I should execute that dharma with the understanding that this is for Haritoshanam. That is what will give us the highest result. And then what should you do? Tasmadekena manasa Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi Shrotavyah Kirtitavyascha Dhyaya Pujyascha Nityada. So, Tasmad Ekena Manasa, with a singular focus. What you should do? The one who is the Pati of the Sattvatas, Bhagavan Sattvatam Pati. So that Pati of the Sattvatas, that Bhagavan, what you should do? You should focus with what? Srotavya, hearing, Kirtitavya, glorifying, Dhyeya, remembering, Pujya, worshipping. See? So, Srotavya, Kirtitavyascha, Dhyeya, Pujyascha, Nityata. And Srila Prabhupada says that we all have this natural tendency to glorify. You know, we have a natural tendency to glorify people who are close to us. People whom we like, we glorify like anything. Even materially minded people, they like to glorify. So, we must utilize that propensity to glorify that only person who should be glorified. The only glorifiable person in the entire creation is Bhagavan Sattvatam Patihi. The Lord who is the Pati of the Sattvatas, he should be glorified. And what is the glory of that? Yad adyutsyadhina yukta karma grandhi nibandhanam chindandi kovidastasya kona kuryat katharatim. Who will not kona kuryat katharatim? Who will not have rati? Who will not have desire to hear that katha? The hearing of which actually is cutting all the binding knots of reactionary work. And how? Yad anusyadina anudhyasina yuktaha. They are cutting kovidas. You know, the intelligent men are cutting with the sword of knowledge. What? All the karma grandhi nibandhanam. So the karma grandhi, it's like, you know, very entangled roots of karma that we have, that is binding us, that is, you know, entwined us. Deep-rooted material attachment, deep-rooted material situation. So those roots have to be cut. Only then what will happen? We can actually become free. And that very easily happens simply by hearing That is why Suta Goswami says, Kona Kuriyat Katharatim. Who would not want to hear that? Right? And then from Shloka 16 to Shloka 21, it speaks about how bhakti progresses. You know, Shushrusho Shraddhadanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Niveshanad Nishevanat. That is very Shushrusho Shraddhadanasya, with great Shraddha, in order to create Vasudeva Katharuji, Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. Those great souls, great devotees, they should be served. You know, they should be served, great devotees of the Lord. Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. So, these people are actually tirthas. You know, we hear of tirthas. We know the Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, Sangam. It is a tirtha. We know that, you know, Vrindavan is tirtha. We know Sridham Mayapur is tirtha. These are all stationary tirthas. You know, you have to go there. Then there are tirthas who are actually Mahatmas, who walk among the ordinary populace, so that people can engage in their service, get sadhu sangha. So, Shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya. Through that, what happens? Srinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayandasto Hyabhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrutsatam. So, simply by hearing about Krishna Katha, Punya Shravana Kirtana, what happens? Hridaya Antaha Astohi Abhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrutsatam. So, everything that is abhadra in our heart gets removed, which is actually anartha nivritti. You see, whatever is abhadram, whatever is not required for us, what is an anartha gets removed by this process of Punya Shravana Kirtana Srinvatam Swakatha Krishna. So, simply by hearing of Krishna Katha, purification begins and anartha nivritti happens. You see? And then the next verse speaks further on this. Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat yuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. You will get nishtha. How? First, what happens? Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. Previous verse also spoke about abhadrani. Next verse again speaks about abhadreshu, nashta prayeshu. Gradually everything abhadreshu will go if you do what? Nityam bhagavata sevaya. By constantly serving Bhagavata. And who is Bhagavata? In order to get rid of abhadra, you must associate with Bhagavata. So you can associate with the book Bhagavata, Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantharaj we call. It is actually Krishna's history, so it is not different from Krishna. You can also associate with the Mahabhagavata. You know, when you read Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam, actually we are getting two types of association. You know, we are getting Bhagavatam Grantharaj association. We are also getting Mahabhagavat Prabhupada association. So, reading Prabhupada's purports along with the Srimad Bhagavatam shlokas will actually give you two-pronged association, which is another great blessing for us. You know, so Nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavat uttama shloke. That Supreme Lord who is described by Uttama Shlokas. The Supreme Lord is also called Uttama Shloka, one who is glorified by the best of poetry. Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So, this loving service to Krishna is established as an irrevocable fact. You see? And then what happens? Tada rajastamo bhava kamalobhadayaschaye cheta eterana vruddham stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of passion and ignorance such as lust, desire, hankering disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. So, after Nishtha, when the lower modes and their effects disappear, the devotee comes to goodness, he becomes happy, and slowly Namaruchi and Asakti will develop. You see? So, this is how in these verses from 16 onwards up to 21, Suta Maharshi is actually explaining the various levels from Shraddha up to Prema that is getting discussed. And in the 20th sloka, Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So, there are two effects when one becomes established in pure goodness. One is, mind is enlivened by devotional service. Without this, without getting established in pure goodness, and especially when one is in modes of ignorance and passion, in Tama Rajogunas, the mind is actually affected very, very badly, very adversely by everything that is material. But when one is able to rise up, up to the stage of Ruchi, by this Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, he gets Nishtha, and then the Rajotamo Bhavas go and he gets established in goodness, and then gradually he come above that, then mind becomes enlivened. And then he gets scientific knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see, you will very clearly understand beyond a shadow of doubt. And then what happens? Liberation from all this bondage due to our fruitive activities, and we become perfectly enlightened. You see, the knot in the heart gets pierced, all the misgivings are cut away to pieces, and the chain of fruitive action gets finished. No more fruitive action. This is how we get. And then Ato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim paramaya amuda vasudeve bhagavati kurvantyatma prasadinim. So even when we are practicing, all those transcendentalists have been rendering such wonderful devotional service to Krishna. They do it with great delight. Why? Because that devotional service is enlivening to the self. When Krishna says, Susukham kartum avyayam. It is something that makes us feel happy. It generates happiness from within. So, that devotional service, Prabhupada very clearly says that Krishna, devotional service to Krishna is very special because Krishna is Swayam Rupa. Swayam Bhagavan, Swayam Rupam. To that personality, when you are directly engaged in loving devotional service, you will get an impact that is much more than the impact that you will get even by, let us say, an avatara of the Supreme Lord. But Krishna directly, the result is the highest, most direct. Therefore, all these great personalities have always been rendering loving service to Krishna. So that is why this Krishna Bhakti becomes all the more important. And then he speaks about Bhagavan as the topmost object of worship in the next few verses. He says that the Supreme Lord accepts Guna avatars as Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. And Sudha Goswami says, out of this, humans will derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu only. And because why? Brahma is doing Srishti by Tamoguna and Lord Shiva Brahma is doing Srishti by using Rajoguna and Lord Shiva using Tamoguna by his Tandava Nritya, he is performing Samhara. Whereas Sthiti is done by Lord Vishnu on the platform of goodness. And goodness is the best because it is best for realization of the absolute truth. Because it says that firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than raw wood. And fire is still better because by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion or rajas is better than ignorance, tamas, but goodness or sattva is best because by goodness we can realize the absolute truth. So, goodness is always better than rajas and tamas. Again, this is a point that has been spoken in the Bhagavad Gita that gets repeated in this chapter. And he says that whoever following great authorities and rendering devotional service unto the Lord is also eligible for liberation. Because the ultimate aim is what? The ultimate aim of all human activity should be to release ourselves from this bondage of material existence, and regain free life on the transcendental platform. Previously also we spoke that this limited material experience, everybody is wanting unlimited freedom. And on the material platform everything is limited, so even freedom you cannot experience unlimitedly. But if you are able to raise yourself beyond the material platform onto the transcendental level, onto the Supreme Lord's Dham, then you can enjoy everything in an unlimited manner. And by enjoyment, I don't mean anything that we are undergoing right now. None of that is actually enjoyment. We will experience it only when we actually engage in pure devotional service. And then he speaks about how those who are serious about liberation, they are not envious, they respect everyone, they reject demigod worship and they worship Vishnu only. Again, Bhagavad Gita's point gets repeated by Sutta Goswami in the second chapter. That because Prabhupada writes that in lower modes, people worship sometimes Kala Bhairava, Smashana Bhairava, Shani, Mahakali, Chandika, etc. In passion, they are worshipping Brahma, Surya, Shiva, Ganesha, etc. But Vishnu alone is Muktipada. So somebody who is wanting liberation from this material platform will always worship Vishnu only. And why? Because if you actually look at the Vedas, this doubt will come. In the Vedas, Pitrus are worshipped, Devatas are worshipped. And now here Sutta Goswami is saying that all those worships are rejected by the devotees who are interested in getting rid of the material bondage. So that gets answered. That gets answered in verse 28 and 29. Vasudeva para Veda, Vasudeva para Makha, Vasudeva para Yoga, Vasudeva para Kriya, Vasudeva param Jnanam, Vasudeva param Tapa, Vasudeva paro Dharmo, Vasudeva para Gati. Because the ultimate object of Para Veda, ultimate object of Vedas is Sri Krishna. Vasudeva para Makha, for all yajnas, the purpose is the Supreme Lord who is called Yajna himself. Vasudeva para Yoga, all yoga processes are meant to realize Krishna. Vasudeva para kriya. All kriya, all fruitive activities are rewarded by this Vasudeva. Vasudeva param jnanam. Vasudeva is the supreme knowledge. Vasudeva param tapa. All tapasya is meant to understand, to know Vasudeva. Vasudeva paro dharmo. What is paro dharma? Yado bhakti rasdokshaje. So param dharma is also for Vasudeva. Vasudeva paragati. The ultimate goal of life is Vasudeva. So the essence of all the processes that we see is actually Vasudeva. And then he speaks very briefly about the three Purushavasaras. In the beginning of material creation, Vasudeva created the energies of cause and effect. And that is Karnodakashayi Vishnu. And then the Lord personally enters this universe as if he is one of the created beings. That is Garbhodaka and Kshirodakashayi Vishnus. And although the Supreme Lord is one, he is pervading all over as all the objects as Paramatma. Just like fire permeates wood. You cannot actually see it permeating wood, but it permeates. So like that, the Supreme Lord is permeating all the bodies that are existent as Paramatma. And this Paramatma is helping the living entity to enjoy the effects of the three modes by using the subtle Indriya called the mind. And then the third question by the sages, the third question that was asked by the sages of Naimisharanya, that gets answered, that why does the Lord incarnate? So he says that, thus the Lord maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men and lower animals. Assuming incarnations, he performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. So why does the Lord come as avatara? To reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. So this is why the acharyas say that the Lord incarnates also for the devotee only. Although it speaks about paritranaya sadhunam and vinashaya cha dushkritam, the actual purpose of avatar is paritranaya sadhunam only. Vinashaya cha dushkritam happens by the side, like a byproduct. Just like we say, Rupa Goswami discusses, when one starts doing bhakti, he says all auspicious things start happening. Why? Because it is a natural byproduct of bhakti. So like that, the Supreme Lord, he appears for he is Vraja Jana Ranjana. He is there to give happiness to the heart of the devotee. And by the side, he also kills demons. Because that demon killing also gives some happiness to the devotee. That my Lord killed the demon, like that. So this is how the second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, gets concluded. Hare Krishna.